know what it is. Make sure y'all go like, comment, subscribe, run them views up, man. You know what I'm saying? Get down to the real nitty gritty. Salute. Like, comment, subscribe.
Okay, so I wanted to respond to some of the feedback about me interviewing Blockstar, Pop Smoke's killer. I didn't do that interview because I don't care. That's what a lot of people seem to think, is that Adam just doesn't give a fuck. That's not the case at all. I did that interview because I thought that it was an important historical record of somebody who was involved in one of the most tragic, insane stories in rap history. I knew Pop Smoke. I was texting him for probably a year. We spoke on camera for a couple minutes for Rolling Loud in 2019, like a few months before he passed. And I had a huge amount of respect for him. I'm not ignorant to what a gigantic impact he had on New York City. And I have nothing but respect for him, and definitely did not want to, enrage his friends or family. I actually wanted to do a piece of content that I thought they would be able to benefit from by having this conversation, so that people could really understand what goes through the mind of somebody who's capable of doing something like that. I think if you watch the interview, it's pretty obvious that I wasn't glamorizing it, and that I was trying to have, the tough conversation with him that I thought this situation warranted. I also think that a lot of people seem to think that I'm the first person who's ever interviewed a killer, which is completely not true. All kinds of people come to mind, but let's just go with the obvious example, Terrence Gangster Williams, who I had on, and everybody else in the podcasting world has had on. He says that he's killed over 40 people. And I haven't seen even one single person say that I shouldn't be interviewing him. And I think the reason why is pretty obvious. Pop Smoke, famous rapper, beloved. Who did Gangster Williams kill? 40 drug dealers / gang members that you and I don't know. So it's kind of hard to work up that empathy. But when you really look at it, O.J. Simpson did all these fucking interviews. I remember when Vlad took a lot of heat because he interviewed Keefe D, who was, it's an extremely analogous situation, because Keefe D obviously was involved in one of the most famous murders of a beloved rapper of all time. And I thought that it was pretty impressive that Vlad stood on his principles and did that interview, because it was an important story to be told. Just like No Plug, after he killed Bankroll Fresh, he went and did an interview with Vlad, and I thought that was incredibly important. I thought it was very brave of Vlad that he actually went through with it, because that was an important interview in terms of us understanding that it wasn't like he just maliciously went and killed this dude. It was a shootout between two people who didn't get along. One person died. The person who died was the famous rapper, and so everybody got on Vlad's case because he interviewed somebody that took somebody that they liked out of this world. But the truth is that that interview corrected the record for a lot of people and let them know how that situation really went down. I also think that Pop Smoke, or the Blockstar interview about Pop Smoke was important for that reason too. 50 Cent made a whole fucking documentary where he basically floated and lended credibility to the idea that Pop Smoke's friend Mike might have been involved in getting him knocked off. I think that interview was extremely important, just answering questions that Pop Smoke fans had. And I think that those same people, they watch that interview and they feel mad and they don't really know what to do with that anger. But the truth is that piece of content, if you're a Pop Smoke fan, is way more informative than anything else that has came out since he died. So to me, it was important to have that conversation. And I also I knew at that time that he was gonna go do the interview with somebody else if I didn't do it. So I felt like I was uniquely capable of having a fair conversation with somebody who may have done something horrible, but ultimately at the end of the day, as a human being who came out of a fucked up environment. And I think that interview tells that story without glamorizing killing at all. I hope that nobody came away with that conclusion, because that to me is pretty insane. Anyway, if you were offended by any of the clips you see, obviously probably 1,000 times as many people saw the clips as saw the full interview. I encourage you to go see it, not just because I want to get my numbers up, but because I think it's an important thing to do to understand what exactly we did when we did that interview. And also, I care about one thing. more than anything else. And that's feeding the streets, giving the streets what they want. What are the streets exactly? I mean, it's kind of a general term. I'm talking about like the people in the hoods. I'm talking about the gang members. I'm talking about the YouTube commenters. There's a lot of overlap. So what they want to see is really what I'm trying to bring to the table. So, I see a lot of people who are kind of from outside the niche that I occupy, who seem very upset about this. But I know that on my side of things, everybody that I know was incredibly excited to see that interview. It was like one of the most anticipated interviews of the year because people find it interesting. It's newsworthy, regardless of if you even were invested in Pop Smoke's story. Anyway, that's why I did it. I think I did a great job. Can't take anything away from myself. Me and Remo, we killed it. And I encourage everybody to go check it out. And finally, I just want to mention this one more time. It's a lot of pick and sides. A lot of like, oh, I like this guy, so therefore this guy is bad. I'm just trying to be ideologically consistent. I got Tax Stone in my DMs telling me that I'm fucked up for interviewing this kid because he killed somebody. Tax, you killed somebody. And granted, you haven't done a whole lot of interviews since. I mean, you did do No Jumper. Granted, this was back in like 2016, but you did do No Jumper like a week after that shit. And I'm just saying, it ain't like anybody's lining up to kick Tax out of their fucking Twitter spaces or anything, right? And yeah, Tax had one of the most influential podcasts while he was around. But at the same time, this kid Blockstar is from one of the most notorious, famous hoods in LA. So can't nobody tell me that shit ain't relevant. I just wanted to throw that in there.